On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight, thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister Kate, warriors got things to say. Sister Marcia brings the heat, Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Thursday nights, the world will see Black Power Media on the spree. Facebook, YouTube, all aligned, breaking free from every bind. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Ancestral line.
Standing strong on the bridge tonight. We got dreams and we got fight. Voices loud in the city's light. Change is coming into sight. History told by scars and pain. Echoes deep in every name. Legal truths we must reclaim. Through the storm and through the rain. Thorough black talk of you. With Brother Tad, Sister K, Sister Marcia, Brother Blacksmith. Cut the check on no vote, yeah. Justice calls from open skies. Tears that fall, ain't no disguise. Marching forward, no surprise. Strength in hearts you can't downsize. Every voice a sweet refrain. In this fight we share the strain. Through the joy and through the pain, bound together like a chain. Thorough black talk of you. With Brother Tad, Sister K, Sister Marcia, Brother Blacksmith. Cut the check on no vote, yeah.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, family. Welcome to another edition of Thorough Black Talk with Sister Keisha, Brother Tad, excuse me, Brother Blacksmith, and Sister Marcia will be joining us on the Brooklyn Bridge. Brother Tad, OG Wisdom Podcast, what's good?
Peace, sis. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, my brother.
All right. Happy Black History Month.
That's
Let's
right.
start.
We in the black tonight. We in the black.
No doubt. Shout out to everybody in the comments section. You know, our usual suspects. Definitely appreciate y'all in the love. Sis, we got a lot to talk about tonight.
A whole lot. But before we get started, let me get my brother Blacksmith. Black, you ready? He said, yeah. The Anunnaki King is in the building. What's good, Brother Black? How are you?
Peace, my alien brothers and sisters out there, and to all you Earthlings. I'm fitting to park that spaceship on your roof, so be ready for me. And I'm hungry, so make sure you got some riddles ready. Yeah, it's all good, sis and I'm just chilling. I'm waiting for the show to take off, and I'm gonna let you do your thing. I'll pass it back.
There you go. There you go. So before we get started, we want to give our honors and respect to the great Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. For those of you who don't know who he is, let's play this clip and we'll come back with an interview that he did quite some time ago. Here we go.
Well, when you put it in the frame of reference, everyone, when they talk about racism and white supremacy, should always start by saying that the focus, the objective should be replace white supremacy with justice. Those are the 5 basic words. And you start your frame of reference from that. The words are very important because when people talk about racism, they tend to get away from the basic focus. If you keep those 5 words in mind, replace white supremacy with justice, then you can keep focus. In many of these discussions on the matter, people tend to get into everything from feminism to words that don't have precise definitions.
Everything else, they go off on a tangent.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but this kind of locks it in.
Right, bigotry, discrimination, sexism, a multitude of isms.
It's like that dangerous black person on the plantation who's always going around trying to read something or trying to figure things out, asking questions, trying to figure out how the plantation is run. That is a dangerous Negro on this plantation. Sell him down the river or give him a good whipping and stop him from being curious about serious things. Keep him in the silly mode. That is the category that black people are always supposed to be in. The silly mode, the destructive mode. Don't let them think about anything serious because then they become a danger. It's like that dangerous black person on the plantation.
Again, we want to give our honors and respect to the great Neely Fuller Jr. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure Brother Tad got the book nearby. Let them know what it is, Brother Tad.
The United Independent Compensatory Code, System, and Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and/or action for victims of racism/white supremacy by Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. Very important piece of work right here.
Your thoughts, Brother Blacksmith, on Neely Fuller Jr. and his work, and if you relate to it, and if you think Black people should get to know his works, Brother Black.
Of course. I never read the book myself, but I've seen excerpts. Very serious brother. He lived to be 94, so he's now an ancestor. Peace to the God. Very important book that all of us should have. I didn't read it. However, for those who don't know, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Paper, was her, I believe, a doctorate or master's thesis based on that book. So she was a student under him, and unfortunately she passed away some years ago, way before him, but those two right there left us a lot they left their legacies on the earth, basically, with those 2 tomes. Those are not books, those are tomes. And if you don't know what a tome is, you spell it T as in Thomas, O as in Oscar, M as in Michael, E as in Edward. And along with a book called Urugu, those books are probably the best as far as the psychological mind, and a whole bunch of Amos Wilson books as well on how we need to deal with racism going forward. They still apply even if they're 20 to 30 or 40 years old. So I suggest you get them if you don't know who these people are. If you want a cheat code, Dr. Neely Fuller recently had some young men who have put his videos to cartoons, and it's easy to find. All you got to do is put Neely Fuller cartoons on YouTube, come right up. You see a lot of his speeches and so on and so forth. And if you like him, I suggest you could support his legacy and his estate and get those tones. With that said, sister, I'll yield back to you.
Ain't nothing but a word around here. You know how we move.
You know what I'm saying?
Ain't nothing but a word. Here we go, family.
And I can understand it. because we've been held back so long and beaten down so much. I mean, just when we make just a few baby steps or just crawl up to, just being able to crawl across a living room floor. I mean, we are just so proud because we have had so little to be proud of. But that's no reason to not be mathematical. Whatever created the universe wants us to tap into the logic that comes with the universe. And then we can just zip ahead. I mean, we can step lively. I mean, not slogging along and struggling and dragging. I mean, like it's going to take us forever just to go from the front door to the back door of a house. I mean, when the whole world is on the move, going all over the universe, and we can't even get to the bus stop without saying that's a real chore. I mean, and people just look at us and say, what kind of example is that for anybody to follow? We don't even want to pay attention to each other because we're such poor examples. And poor examples come from just what? Poor thinking. Everything starts with a thought. Our thoughts are too small, much too small. I mean, just trying to impress each other and do nothing else in life but, well, I impressed about, 15 or 20 black people, I mean, sometime this year, my buddies, and they feel proud of me, and boy, do I feel good. When the white supremacists look at that and say, have you been to the bottom of the ocean? Do you know what's there? Well, I have. Do you go into outer space and back? Well, I have. Do you know where everything is under a place called the Congo? All of the minerals there? Well, I do. And I haven't even gotten started. And you are bragging about something that you bought or stole in a store, in a hood, and walking around with some shoes on with some white person's name on it and bragging about what you got. And you think that that is the end of life, that you have now done everything that there is to do in life on account of you got some $600 shoes that you never had on before. Now, that is the literal definition in the minds of the white supremacists of the N-word. That's what that is that you're looking at. That's what you call that type of thinking. And every white person looking at his offspring, his white child, will say it. And that is what you don't ever want to be, is one of those creatures that walk around thinking like that. You don't ever want to think at that level. And they're telling their offspring that when they're about 6 years old. So when they get to be about 30, they are taking the place of their elders and running the entire universe like they have continued to do like forever. But I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about the white supremacists, whom black people right this minute all over the world are trying to say, I got to get out of here and find out which way the white people went so I can be around some people that got some sense. Because I can't stand being around these people that I was raised up with, because we ain't about nothing and ain't trying to be about nothing except just feeding off of each other and then getting mad about that. Can't stand ourselves and can't stand nobody that looks like us, truth be told. So which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Congo, which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Southside Chicago, which way did the white folks go? If I'm in Compton, which way did the white folks go? Well, why are you asking that? Because I can't stand this insanity here, that's why. Well, it's insane over there, yeah, but it's still better than here because there ain't no other place to go that makes sense. I ain't going where no more black people are because I know that they're not going to make sense in nothing that they do. You don't see black people clamoring to go nowhere on this planet where there are other black people, except where those black people, those other black people, are in contact with some white people who know how to get things done in an orchestrated, codified manner. Because that's the only places where anything is happening, truth be told. But it's the white supremacists' fault, because they set it up like that. But we shouldn't keep falling for it and pretending like it's not true. That's why I'm going to keep saying what I say. Whites.
I tell you, boy, right on time, and everything that's going on in the Congo right now. For him to mention that, let me get Sister Marcia up on the Brooklyn Bridge. Sister Marcia, Africans on the Rise. In the building, my sister too is in the black. See, it's a Brooklyn thing. We hear.
Don't understand.
They don't understand. Sister Marcia, your thoughts on Dr. Lily Fuller Jr.
Well, first, let me say greetings to everyone and happy Blacktastic Thursday. I can't forget to, I'd be remiss if I don't say it because I was yelled on last week. Nellie Fuller, as he said, if you don't understand white supremacy, racism, everything you do and understand will only confuse you. When I first read that many years ago, I was confused. And it takes time, patience, and dedication to the race to truly try to digest that information and also digest his book, to understand the gravity of white supremacy and racism and how it affects your daily life. Even if you think, oh, it doesn't affect me, it affects you down to the penny. Down to your hair follicles, even if that's the way you want to see it. So I am very grateful for his work and his contribution and purpose to us in elevating us and making us realize what we need to realize. And immediately those who truly want to understand and realize what we need to realize. So with that said, thank you for your service. We wish you a speedy departure and a speedy return.
That's right, Sister Marcia, Brother Tad. Your thoughts on the words of the great Dr. Nellie Fuller Jr., in particular that animated piece that we watched at the suggestion of Brother Blacksmith.
All right, I'm gonna try to make this quick and simple and brief as possible, because it's almost like a tearjerker to hear him talk, because this is the problem that we have within our community on so many levels. When you deal with, I don't even know if we could call them everyday black folks, but when you deal with the criminal element of black folks, I'm constantly citing Dr. Khalil Gibran Muhammad's book, The Condemnation of Blackness. There's an element of criminality that our people have adopted, which makes them act like criminals. Dr. Nellie Fuller Jr. also said black folks need to stay away from each other. We need to stay away from each other till we learn how to behave and conduct ourselves, till we build our character, because every time it's a bunch of us together, there's some foolishness going on. There's violence, there's cooning and buffooning, and we're not serious about getting serious. Right? So it's so multi-layered. So you got the criminal element. Then you got your working class folks, your everyday people that just try to go along to get along, go to work, pay their bills, but they're indoctrinated with mainstream media ideas, thoughts, and opinions. Let me tell you, Sister Keisha, I be in the office and I'm so tired of hearing people keep talking about Donald Trump and celebrating Al Sharpton and Jamal Bryant, and I'm just like, these Negroes, they don't know. They don't know. But then you come into the conscious community where you got those of us who know some things, but we too busy sitting on our ass to do anything about it. So we'll regurgitate every last book we read. Like, yeah, I read this book, I read that book. Got tons of libraries, but got heart disease, gout, arthritis, all kinds of stuff. And you still ain't changed your diet nor your way of thinking, because you're thinking antiquated like the 60s, as Dr. Nellie Fuller Jr. said. These folks is out here trying to conquer the universe, and you just acting like it's an effort to get to the bus stop. We're not getting nowhere. But then you got the super conscious, know everything, but don't know how to organize their own family. Don't know how to heal the issues and the traumas within their family. I don't care what master teacher feet you sat at. I don't care how many lectures you've done. I don't care if you're cool with Dr. Umar or Dr. J, Dr. Julius Irvin. I don't care if you're down with Dr. Seuss. What are you doing in terms of your family situation? And I think that's very important. You know, me and Doggy, shout out to Doggy Diamonds, we was having a conversation earlier talking about the community, talking about people always asking us for something, donate to this, donate to that. And I always got to remind people, I'm responsible for the minimum of 20 people, Sister Keisha, in my immediate circle, my immediate bloodline. 9 children, 8 grandchildren, 4 siblings, a few cousins, nieces and nephews. That's 20 people easy that I have to jump for. So in the movement, when people want us, it's based on rhetoric, right, Sister Keisha? And I'm going to wrap this up because it's about, what he said it is? Thought, speech, and action. Thought, speak, and action. You got to get out of the victim mindset. White folks going to do what white folks do, like snakes going to snake. But what are you going to do? How do you address it? How do we talk? I constantly have this conversation since it's Black History Month where people be like, our ancestors couldn't read. Our ancestors couldn't read. The slaves couldn't read. It's like, no, they could read. They couldn't read English. Remember, we braided our hair a certain way because it meant something. We put Adinkra symbols everywhere because it meant something. We created patchwork quilts because it meant something. Symbols are nothing but shapes that have meaning and definition, like numbers and letters. That's all it was. But see, when you say your ancestors couldn't read and write, what you do is subconsciously, you already put them in a deficit of being dumb, not recognizing it was the creative genius that we had of knowing how to read and write in our own language that got us free. We have to be mindful. Again, that goes to the speech. And then the action. Organize your people. Organize your people. And I'm not talking about the people that come to the conscious events, the dashiki churches, because that's all they are. They replace the amens with ashes. Organize your family. Get with your brother and sister struggling. Have that tough heart-to-heart with them. Yeah, these teenagers in your family ain't acting right. Pull them to the side and let them know them deep, dark family secrets and how it turned out. You got to start getting honest. But we're not getting honest because we rather get along with a group than really deal with our family. And it's going to be the last point I make. A lot of times I talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. One of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the need to belong. But you got to put your social group and your family group on the scale. And a lot of times, some people's social group outweigh their family group. So rather than deal with the challenges their family have, they rather run to their civic organizations, their religious organizations, their cultural organizations, and hang with them rather than really heal and fix their family as the quote-unquote conscious leader that they claim they are when they at Thanksgiving boycotting. So this book is so profound because it helps us change our paradigm of thinking of what Blackness is here in America. We really have to start challenging ourselves. I constantly say this. We're a quarter of a century in the new millennium and we still thinking like it's damn near 100 years ago. We have to change the plan. And I'm sorry it took so long, but shout out to Dr. Neely Fuller Jr., Rising Power.
Not a problem at all, Tad. Have you cracking up back here because he's right. He's right. See, that's why I stay by myself because I ain't got time for the foolishness. I don't. Let me give some shout outs real quick. Big Ron, what's up? What's good, brother? How are you? Sister Donna, Brother Kerwin, Alabama in here. What's heavy, y'all? What's heavy? Let us know. K Rush, 409 Philly in here. Heavy family, what's good? Sister Aruba. We got Dory Diamond TV Mars in the building, y'all. Let's get it. Sister Farnessa. You already know what it is. Alabama staying here heavy, y'all. You better know. Sister Brooke, what's good? Magnetic Peace Tyson. What's up, brother? How are you? North Kakalaki in here. Uncle Jess, Brownsville finest in the building, y'all, by way of North Kakalaki. North Kakalaki in here heavy. Y'all better stop playing. Stop playing. Stop playing. Sister Latasha, what's good? What's good? What's good? Brother Cav, South Kakalaki in the building, family. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And I got to give a shout. I got a message from a brother in Montana who's checking us out every Thursday. Carl, thank you, thank you, thank you. We definitely appreciate you, brother.
Definitely.
Always. I said Montana.
What's his name?
Kyle, Kyle.
They got black folks in Montana? No,
We got black folks everywhere.
We all over the place.
Everywhere, brother. We everywhere. You can't make a move without us, and they know that.
I had a cousin lived in Montana.
Wow.
My cousin
Wow.
Russell. We call him
Wow.
Cisco, but yeah, he lived in Montana. I said, "You live in Montana? That's different."
I'm telling you, but believe it or not, Brother Tad, during the early days, a lot of our people went to these lands because you have to remember the Trail of Tears that went across that plain, who settled in those areas, so it's nothing new that, be derived in those areas. Dr. Filet in the building, New Day Liberation, MWM Captain in the building. It's the founder, y'all. I got a slideshow I want to play, Dr. Filet. You're in it. You're in it. When it comes to Black history, Big Mars said here, brothers farming in Montana. That's what I'm talking about. I told y'all I took a trip out to Sheridan, Wyoming. Y'all think I'm playing. And I had a great time out there, actually. But one of the things that we have to understand is that when it comes to our history, we have to stop, number one, looking at things in one event as one event or one particular person in one particular time without looking at the whole landscape of the particular time period of the person, date, or event that you're researching. Because it is only that you will get a full, that you will get a full understanding of exactly what happened. So, for example, all of us, at least on this platform, and those of you who are viewing, have heard of the Underground Railroad, right? Everybody heard of Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad, but you've seen movies about it or documentaries about it and the like. But one of the things that also took place during that time period, and even prior to her arrival, is the reverse Underground Railroad. Now, while we research it, I want y'all to Google reverse Underground Railroad, because there is a reason why you weren't taught about the reverse Underground Railroad, how long it took place, and let me just be frank. This was going on, at least through my research. Now, there may be other scholars and those who have found more than me, but through my research, this type of behavior took place the beginning of the 1800s through the 1950s. And what I mean by that took place is kidnappings of free Black people and sold into slavery. For example, last week I mentioned a book entitled Stolen by Dr. or Professor Richard Bell. This book in particular talks about the story of 5 Black boys who were kidnapped and sold into slavery out of the city of Philadelphia. Now, when you look at this particular story, and it's a great book, I would suggest all of you get it if you can, especially to see what happens at the end. of these 5 boys' lives. Some of them make it, some do not. But it's very, very interesting, all involved in this kidnapping that took place from the city of Philadelphia. Now, remember last week I mentioned that during the time of enslavement, Philadelphia had the largest populace of free Black people in the United States, followed by New York, New Jersey, Boston, and some other places as the numbers dwindle. And I'm going to show a graph on that a little bit later. But speaking about these 5 boys in particular, there were a lot of kidnapping clubs. So I want you to imagine, I'm talking about the early 1820s, okay? I believe the president at the time of this story, 1825, that would be, if I'm not mistaken, John Quincy Adams, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all can look that up and let me know if I'm wrong. I apologize, but I think it was John Quincy Adams. I think he served 1824 to the 28th or something like that, to 1828, whatever. But anyway, John Quincy Adams was a member of the Democrat-Republican Party. Remember, I told you they were always together. He was a member of the Democrat-Republican Party. Later, he joined the Whig Party, and some would equate his legacy to being one of the greatest Secretary of States that this nation has ever had. He was serious when it came to international policies. Now, there was a mayor. I believe, I can't remember the first name, but I do remember his last name was Watson, and I think we'll hear about him in this piece I'm going to play. But Watson, I think it was Joseph Watson. Anyway, he was a Quaker, and so he advocated for these 5 boys who had spent several years in enslavement, some in Alabama, others in Mississippi. What it was, and in Louisiana. But I want you to understand this, that the kidnapping clubs flourish. Now, I want you to think about child trafficking today or human trafficking today. It was that prevalent back then as far as free Black people were concerned. Oftentimes, parents did not allow their children outside of their dwellings because of this very fear. In fact, there was a white woman, her name is Patty Gordon, and I think he's going to mention her here. But anyway, you can look it up. Patty Gordon, Pattygordon. She was the leader of one of these kidnapping clubs. And she gets arrested later on, but I don't want to give anything away out of the book. But these clubs were prevalent. So they had assistance from political parties. They had assistance from law enforcement. And in fact, there were laws that restricted Black people of those times from fighting back or protecting themselves. Most did, but some couldn't. When you look at laws like the Negro Act of 1790, that too explains how Black people were restricted in their movements. And so when your children were kidnapped, and I believe at that time, it may have been 1 in 5 who were kidnapped and sold into slavery, because the United States had banned the import of Africans into this country. So the market continued. So they had to feed that market one way or the other. The other benefit of having these kidnapping clubs was you didn't pay the hefty price as you would an import. You know, just like any other commodity, you pay a heftier price when it's imported as opposed to being domestic. So it's the same with humans who were trafficking at that time. So I'm going to play this clip and give you a bit of a background of this book. The author, he's an English author, But I'm going to stop it and we'll come and discuss certain points of it. So give me a second. Let me play this, family. 1 second. Here we
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Van Cleve. I'm a park ranger at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park located in Church Creek, Maryland. It is my honor today to be interviewing historian Richard Bell. And Richard Bell is professor of history at the University of Maryland and author of the book Stolen: 5 Free Boys Kidnapped into Slavery and Their Astonishing Odyssey Home, which was a finalist for the George Washington Prize and the Harriet Tubman Prize. He has held major research fellowships at Yale, Cambridge, and the Library of Congress, and is the recipient of the National Endowment of the Humanities Public Scholar Award and the 2021 Andrew Carnegie Fellowship. He serves as a trustee of the Maryland Center for History and Culture and as a fellow of the Royal Historical Society. Welcome, Richard Bell.
Thank you so much, Tim. What a great pleasure.
Well, thanks for being on with us today. One of the first questions I always ask any of the authors, what inspired you to tell this story?
Wow. Yeah. So this is a true story about something that happened in 1825, which was the kidnapping of 5 free African-American boys aged between about 8 and 15 from the free streets of Philadelphia by a gang of professional kidnappers who tried to sell them as slaves in the deep, deep South. And when I stumbled upon this true story in the archives about 10 years ago now, I couldn't really believe what I was reading. I couldn't understand how there could be gangs of people who made their livings preying upon free Black people living on free soil, in free cities, in free states, and trying to take those people down to the Deep South and sell them as slaves. These were not bounty hunters. These were not slave catchers. These were kidnappers pursuing free Black people. I couldn't believe this was happening. And as I began digging into that particular case, which now is the focus of this book, Stolen, I became aware of just how many other cases of the kidnapping of free Black people, especially children, there were in America between the Revolution and the Civil War. And when I came across this story, Tim, I was not a new historian. I'd been a card-carrying historian for 10, 15 years by that point, and yet had no idea just how common the kidnapping of free Black people from within the United States was. So, fundamentally, Tim, I wrote this book to educate myself about that phenomenon and then to share those findings with as many people as possible, because it turns out it happened all the time, and I think its significance is actually extraordinary.
Well, you really started out the book setting the kind of framework of Philadelphia in the 1820s. I think folks who've studied Harriet Tubman and William Steele kind of get a sense of what it was like in the 1850s. But what were some of the challenges in the 1820s that African Americans would be facing in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this book begins in Philadelphia. It will move to other places, including the Eastern Shore, not too far from your neck of the woods, and then onwards into Mississippi and Alabama. But it begins in Philadelphia, which is the largest city in America in the 1820s. It had been the site of, the Revolutionary Second Continental Congress. And after the Revolution, Philadelphia's and Pennsylvania's legislators had put in place a gradual abolition law, which had slowly turned Philadelphia into a free soil city by the 1820s. And by the 1820s, there were lots of free Black people living in Philadelphia. It had perhaps the largest free black population of anywhere in the US, about 12,000 free black men, women, and children living in this large, bustling city. And they did enjoy legal freedom. Many of them carried their papers proudly and protectively around their necks in lanyards or in their wallets or inside pockets. And so compared to the states to the south of them, like Maryland, where I live, or Virginia, or further south, being able to live in freedom was a rare and unusual privilege. And that's why Philadelphia attracted so many free black people from other states, as well as runaways from slave states seeking to blend in among that free black population. But, and this is a big but, freedom from slavery did not mean in Philadelphia freedom from racism or discrimination or segregation or exclusion. And we find that the 12,000 free black Philadelphians who lived in that city felt in some ways like they were under siege from racist white people who lived in neighboring residencies. So in terms of being able to find a job, it was incredibly difficult for free black people to find white employers who would hire them, which often meant they ended up in the most sort of degraded occupations. Think of sort of chimney sweeps and road sweepers, for instance. It meant that finding places in school for their children was incredibly hard because there simply weren't that many schools open to black children and black parents, meaning that they either had to rely on charity schools set up by Quakers, or they had to found their own schools with limited resources to do so. Finding a place in church could be difficult every Sunday. There weren't that many mixed or biracial congregations by the 1820s. So free black folks of faith had to set up their own churches. So they lived in a post-slavery city, but they didn't live in a post-racial or post-racist environment. And so one of the manifestations of white racism in a city like that was that when professional kidnappers came prowling around a city like that, looking for free black people, especially kids, they could take away and enslave. White bystanders didn't really do much to stop them. White Philadelphians in general found black Philadelphians to be a stain on the city's reputation, a element they regarded as poor and prone to criminality. And so they were quite happy if anyone was willing to remove that element. And that's what kidnappers, of course, were doing fairly systematically. So when free black Philadelphians perceive the threat of kidnappers in their community, they can't rely, Tim, on much white assistance to intervene or stop them when those sort of predators come crawling in their neighborhoods.
So just, for those of you who come from other lands,
Say it.
Your existence in this soil did not begin as such. Literally, laws enacted to hinder our progression. Anyway, by any means. Now look at today, where you have a lot of folks who come from other lands into this country. There are laws enacted to benefit them. So as they begin to build legacy here in this country for their families and their people, ours was at a hindrance. So you should never fix your mouth to disagree with us when it comes to reparations. Brother Tad, your thought on the clip that I showed of Dr. Richard.
All right. Oh, the naivety of your centricity. They couldn't believe it. They acting all shocked and astonished that they would kidnap black folks. And that's how a lot of our folks got here, through kidnapping and human trafficking and things of the like, and you know, I get how he tailored the argument of, you know, post-slavery but not post-racial. It's almost like they separate the two, which is kind of weird, because if they study the documents, the creation of whiteness, they would realize, you know, how asinine his position is. But again, let's go back to Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. This is why it's important we get the language right. You know, me and Dr. Covington, we always have conversations. Shout out to her. I think she's in here.
Shout out to Dr. Covington. Yes, 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 yes.
You know, we constantly have conversations and we talk about the language. We have to get the language right. See, we got to understand and question everything. As Sister Marcia opened up, you know, with the quote from Dr. Neely Fuller Jr., if you don't understand racism and white supremacy and how it operates, everything you think you understand will only confuse you. So in our thoughts, speech, and behavior, we got to understand that we're feeding the fuel to the fire of racism and white supremacy. Case in point, Jamal Bryan and Al Sharpton telling people to go to Costco's, but everybody's there for a photo op. They mad at the crowd for not shopping, but they there for the same reason you are, to photo op and act like you're actually doing something to affect change, and that is not affecting change. Showing up saying, don't give your money to Target, give it to Costco. But the implications it have to destroy black businesses, which Costco supports, black employees, which Target employs. So don't go to Target, go to Costco for 40 days. And then what? See, that's always my response. All right, we do that. And then what? What's the end game? It's like chess. Some people know how to move the pieces, but they have no strategy. You can see somebody capturing everybody pieces, but your end game will suck. You probably castle and block yourself in the corner. Chess is a very strategic, meticulous game. And we playing skelly with chess players. We're not even playing checkers. We playing skelly with chess players. You got all of these people who think they're doing something. All these people who are anti-DEI. They're advocating harder for the Transformers than they are for their own people. Talking about, oh, this is how it's going to affect our people. And the president already made it clear, y'all ain't holding on to that 14th Amendment because that's for foundational black Americans. That's the law. That he can't change that. We know that. Those of us on this panel and our intelligent office audience know that he can't change that. But that DEI, that's something to accommodate everybody but us. But again, because we don't have the thought, speech, and the language right, we get confused and we talk ourselves right into the bad position we keep saying we trying to get out of. Case in point, and then I'm gonna pass the mic. The sister who went to Pakistan, she's over there showing her natural black ass. And from what I hear, she may have mental health issues, which I think is probably obvious. But nonetheless, her family should keep an eye out for her part one. Part two, I don't think our folks should laugh and think it's cute, because this is the misrepresentation of black women, particularly black American women. Every time I see a Megan Thee Stallion or a sister like this with mental health issues, it doesn't represent Sister Marcia. It doesn't represent Sister Keisha. It doesn't represent Dr. Covington or Sister Brooke or Sister Farness or Sister Ruba or our family or Empress Chi. It doesn't represent those real black women who are foundational black women, the real mothers of the movement, the real mothers of the community and civilization, that try to encourage our young people and our brothers to do right, to be better, to do better. That's what black women do. They encourage real black women, not these clones that got indoctrinated with the foolishness that Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. keep talking about. That's why we have to stay away from each other, because a lot of foolishness that goes on, we think is cute. We think it's entertainment because we adopted European psychology that blacks is good for cooning, buffooning, sports, and entertainment. And our foolishness is their entertainment. And we have to push back against this. We have to, because it's embarrassing, because the world is smaller. And what do they see? You know, they got them reality shows in Africa now. They got so many. So globally now, it's not just Black American women. It's saying this is who Black women are. And so, as Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. said, the rest of the world is just moving forward. They're marching forward. And here we are just practicing on being better slaves and consumers. And I yield the mic.
Sister Marcia, your thoughts on Dr. Richard Bell's commentary on his book, Stolen, kidnapping that took place during the 1800s?
You know, Brother Tad hit on many of the points that I would have hit on. I just want to, just add what's happening currently, right? Right now, not only, are they snatching up people and people are scared, but there is something real that's happening to all of us. There's this real ID that if you want to travel state to state, you must have a real ID. So we must be cautious about the implications that this brings and bring it together with this knowledge. Because as I always say, there are patterns to everything. And if we're not paying attention to the patterns, we're going to get hit by it. So thank you for bringing it forward. I yield.
I want to say one more thing, Sister Keisha.
Yeah, Brother Tad.
It's so funny that you bring this up, because me and Sister Tam was talking earlier today, and she said a lot of people from her hometown are missing. They're just falling off the face of the planet. No hide, no hair, no blood stains. They're just disappearing. That's why with these rangers talking about it, why are they surprised? They know what it is. Again, the naivety of Eurocentricity. Like, well, I didn't know this happened to your people. Really, you just really thought we were just born with chains around our necks and target on our backs. And again, not to play the victim position, because I'm a victor, not a victim. We survive in spite of. And as Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. tell us, don't be a leader. Lead yourself. And try to encourage our folks to tap into the leader in them. This is all we do on this platform. In any platform we go to, we encourage people to tap into their own power. That's something Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. talked about in the book also. We don't need nobody else to guide us, because all they're going to do is guide us right back to the plantation. We have, Dr. Amos Wilson, peace be upon him. He said, when Black folks get educated, the uneducated are quick to say, you think just like the white man. You sound like the white man. He said, and we don't sound like the white man. He said, because the white man is about nation building. They're about building legacy for generations to come. We kick our children out too early. We force them to grow up too fast. We try to relinquish all responsibility so early and then want other people to do for us. We say we so pro-Black, we say we so independent, but still relying on this government to do for us what we can do for ourselves. Let's take the resources from these jobs we have and build for ourselves, build for our family. Because I don't know no place where you're going to go where you don't have to do some type of labor, some sort of work. Get you a soft skill, get you a hard skill, because the world is moving so fast and we can't afford to be left behind. Like Sister Marcia said, a lot of people don't even know about the real IDs. So here, next thing you know, you think you're going to Dubai or Pakistan and your ass going to get jammed up, be jammed up out there. You ain't got the right ID. And that ain't nothing but your Negro walking papers. Same thing as the towns of the plantation. But if we study our story, then we know how to be strategic and we know how to move and we know how to build like our ancestors did. After the Emancipation Proclamation, during the Reconstruction, we had so much more than we do now. Right now, we just keep begging. And because we don't know, We don't think we can build what we're talking about when we've already had that. We talk about Black Wall Street, talk about them burning it down, but never do we talk about how quick we rebuilt it. So many of the communities we rebuild, and we can if we just unplug from these people thought processes. If they say go east, you better tear ass going west. They say go north, you better run south. You know, but
Facts, Brother Tag. Facts, right, and exact. Something that I think I saw in the chat. Somebody said that, you got to get yourself together. As
yes,
you said, get the language right.
yes.
Forgive me. And that's one of the things we try to highlight here on this platform.
Yeah, that's Dr. Covington.
Shout out, Doc. Getting the language right for real, because, like I said, there is a particular Black business, and I like their service and what they produce. And I have been going there for years. Right during the pandemic kickoff, and people were reduced to delivery services and things like that. I saw on this particular business, they had the rainbow flag on it. And as a business owner, you want to attract all consumers. I get that point. However, as I mentioned to the owner, you have a particular responsibility different from your competitors. The responsibility that you hold to your number one consumer should be to understand its full history. And history is something that is backed up by evidence, period. And so I told this business owner the history of the rainbow in this country as it relates to foundational Black Americans, letting that owner know that that was the name of the first slave ship that left these shores specifically to capture African people for enslavement. And so I told this particular business owner, who was shocked, to Google it for themselves, because I know our people like everything in a microwave, quick, in a hurry. So this person did, and immediately removed the sign after I explained that they are breaking the 13th Amendment. You are breakers of the law. The 13th Amendment abolished enslavement and also badges of slavery. That, my friend, is a badge of slavery to me. So it was removed. But what I did like was put in its place a history of the conversation that we had explaining why that flag is removed.
Holla.
So, family, you have to stand firm on your square. You participate and support Black businesses. You cannot support Black businesses that disrespect you, your culture, your history, your legacy, your foundation on these lands. Do not be afraid to confront, because just like you, they too do not know. But now that you know, you have a responsibility for your favorite Black-owned business that you support. If you see these apparatuses displayed, it is now your responsibility to push back. And if you don't, then you are a co-conspirator. And you are the perfect example of what Dr. Nellie Fuller Jr. was explaining. So let's continue with Dr. Bell, and we'll come right back and we'll discuss the second half. Here we go.
So let's dive into the book, because it really centers around the 5 free young Black men who, of course, were kidnapped out of Philadelphia. The route came right through Dorchester County, probably about 20 miles from where I'm currently at, right here at the park. But they eventually end up in Rocky Springs, Mississippi, which, of course, these days is located, or it was back then, on the Natchez Trace. Talk about the fate of 2 of the captives that didn't make it to Rocky Springs, and then the surprising twist of what happened at Rocky Springs.
Yeah, so this is a story that in some ways begins like every other story of kidnapping of free black people does, but then takes some unusual and unexpected turns. These 5 boys are kidnapped over the course of about 24 hours by this professional gang centered on the eastern shore of Maryland and rural Delaware, who sort of operate in the larger region in Baltimore and in Philadelphia. And this gang traffics these 5 free black boys out of Philadelphia, warehousing them for a while in a pair of safe houses not too far from you, Tim, as you pointed out. They take them across the Chesapeake Bay, and then they walk them one foot after another from roughly Norfolk, Virginia, where they land on the western shore, through Tennessee, and then down to Alabama and Mississippi, looking for buyers who are setting up as cotton planters or sugar planters in that what they call the Black Belt at the time, right? A new part of the United States, which is being rapidly filled with coerced black laborers there to cultivate sugar, there to cultivate cotton. Of course, most black laborers are brought there legally by buying and selling from slave owners in Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. But these kidnappers are bringing in legally free people and passing them off as enslaved people. So to journey from our region up in the Delmarva, Chesapeake area down to southern Mississippi and Alabama on foot is a long journey, a time-consuming journey, a soul-destroying journey. And again, these are young people, the oldest of whom is 15, the youngest of whom is about 8. None of them have ever been to that far south before, not by any stretch. The kidnappers intend to sell these 5 free children to anyone looking to buy, cheap laborers, no questions asked. And they find one buyer in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. His last name is Paul, and he's a tinner, but he wants to become a planter, a gentleman, a sort of cotton grower, a respectable man. And his path to doing so, he believes, is to become an enslaver and to become a landowner. And he's perfectly willing to buy a kidnapped free child who he probably knows is kidnapped at a knockdown price to help him achieve that dream of his. So that's how 10-year-old Cornelius Sinclair is parted from the rest of the group and sold to this slave owner. And Cornelius will spend the next several months in James Paul's custody, and through a very unusual series of events, Tim, is able to actually try to sue James Paul for his freedom in a local court. He gets some help from 2 white Methodist ministers who, unusually for Alabama, have an anti-slavery position, and then it remains to be seen whether a court in Alabama will give a fig about his free status, or whether they will ignore his free status and his claims and consign him to slavery for the rest of his life. And that's one of the climaxes of the book, to figure out what's going to happen in that Alabama courtroom to 10-year-old Cornelius Sinclair, whether or not he'll ever get home. That leaves 4 other boys making the journey onward from Tuscaloosa even further south. I'm sorry to report that one of those 4 children will be savagely murdered, savagely beaten to death by members of this gang of kidnappers for his obstreperousness, his resistance, his talking back to authority, his foot dragging, all the tools of everyday protest that you and I would use if we found ourselves in that abominable situation. So that child does not live to see the end of this story. That leaves 3 other young people who are set up to be sold to another buyer in Rocky Springs, Mississippi. And that transaction looks like it's about to go through when one of those boys, his name is Sam Scomp, he's about 15 years old at the time, is able to communicate his free status, his legally free status, to the potential buyer. And to everyone's surprise, the buyer listens and the buyer responds. Rather than ignoring the claims of this child who's claiming to be free, this buyer says, hold on a minute, I'm going to stop you right there in this transaction. And that moment initiates a transformation in the boys' fates and future, which will ultimately see some of them fight their way back to freedom through legal procedures over the next year and a half or so. Most kidnappings begin this way, Tim. Almost none of them end this way. For some of these boys, there is actually a sort of happy ending, and that's very, very unusual in the larger history of the kidnapping of free African-American children from within the United States.
Crazy.
You know,
crazy. But one of the things that I want to point out about this book, all 5 of the boys end up very differently in their circumstances. One of the things that you also know in this book are the co-conspirators who lured these children away. 5 of them being Black women who were a part of Patty Gordon's gang. Now, again, you have to remember the time. Did they do it willingly? Were they forced to do it? We have no idea. But what I can say is that this is the precursor to what we know today as the boule. Getting Black people to easily go along with things to harm their people. Like Brother Tad mentioned, Al Sharpton and Jamal Bryant, who are representatives of entities that want to keep you both shopping for the rest of your lives. Al Sharpton gets paid by these entities. He has no job. What's his job? He have them. So I'm just telling you, how do these people get their money? You gotta be inside a nut brain to follow anything Jamal Bryant has to say. I mean, how many baby mamas he got? Like about 10? Like, we ain't got time for all of that, son. You can't tell me nothing. And I'm still trying to figure out why his flock is so heavy. You know, Atlanta, y'all got a lot of explaining to do. Baltimore, y'all got a lot of explaining to do. How the flock of these crooked thieves is beyond me. But Brother Black, because we haven't heard from you, what are some of the feelings that you have as it relates to these kidnapping clubs that were prevalent not just here during the 1800s, but these kidnapping clubs flourished through the 1960s. Remember May Louise Miller, whose family was held in captivity into the late 1970s, early 80s. So I'm not making this stuff up. But Brother Black, your thoughts on Dr. Bell's commentary? These groups.
Through the court system, it's still going on because we know more than likely if somebody's wrongly convicted, it would be one of us. So it's still happening. I'm sure it's still happening it's happening through adoption agencies. As mentioned previously at the beginning of the show, it's happening through trafficking. We remember Laura Silsby, who went to Haiti and tried to grab them kids, and then she became the head of the Amber Alert in Missouri or Illinois, one of the Midwestern states. So ain't nothing changed. I mean, they just changed as everything else they do. They just change the name and do it, you know, instead of calling it a taxi, now you call it an Uber or a Lyft. It's the same shit, different day. They're still doing it.
But I want people to understand that there's always a blueprint and there's always a precursor. So for all of you ethnic groups who now reside, no matter where you are on this planet, I don't care if you're in the US or abroad, in a homeland that isn't your own, understand what we had to deal with, period. So when you hear people say, well, why they pull themselves up by their bootstraps,
Yeah.
you can give them a sound response and give them a critical thought process before they come back to you with a response. Always be lettered enough to articulate your point without stressing the emotion of it. Because when you do it that way, you nullify the opposing argument before they even have a chance. So just remember that. But
Can I say something real quick, Sister Keisha? After I living in Ghana, it's real quick. After I living in Ghana, you know, and I would talk to people about 9/11 and stuff like that. Most of the people's response to that was like, it didn't even happen for them. It was like it was a movie for them, you know. And for them, being from, especially being from New York, you know, it don't get no real. I worked in the Wall Street. Most of my first corporate jobs was in the Wall Street area. So as soon as I saw it, at the time I was living in Orlando. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was, I knew it was the World Trade Center or right around it. But for other people from all over the world who glorify, where we're from, for them it's like a Hollywood stage or something like that. I'm done.
I feel you, brother. Just for clarification, and I dropped it in the chat so you guys can, look at this at your own time and your own leisure. But you can go through various time periods to see the equivalent of free Black people to those who were enslaved. So, for example, we're talking about 1820. Now, these 5 children, I believe, it's been a minute since I read the book, but I believe it was 1825. Now, about 5 years prior, look at the statistics. You have 1.5 million enslaved Black folks in this country, 2,524 free. Picture that. You're trying to start a business, build a home, take care of your family, just living your everyday life, and you have to worry about kidnapping clubs that will sell you with no protections whatsoever. There was no legal protections for us. Remember, I said that former President John Quincy Adams was one of the lawyers that advocate for this boy, for one of these boys. But put it in full context. I told you he was the president of the United States around this time, prior to that. Now, what was John Quincy Adams trying to do? He had left the Democrat-Republican Party, pushed himself into the Whig Party, and wanted to establish, if you will, the Republican Party. And it needed a basis. The basis of the Republican Party were the basis of the original anti-federalists. They were anti-slavery. Being anti-slavery can be a leg up, if you will, in politics. So again, he didn't do this out of the kindness of his heart. There was an agenda afoot for him and the political apparatus that he needed to establish and push forward at that time. You can read more about John Quincy Adams at your own time, but I'm just giving you that background so you can have an understanding. So take a look at this map and you can go through it through different time periods when they were free and when they were enslavement. Now, another thing that I want to point out is that this particular author, Dr. Richard Bell, is looking for descendants of these 5 boys. This is why we always tell you here on Thorough Black Talk, it's very important that you understand your own goddamn family's history so that he can continue the story. Now, I believe he found descendants of one of the boys who ended up, or his descendants ended up in Texas. But again, read the book at your own leisure. It was a minute when I bought this book. Actually, I bought this book for $1. If you look, can you see it? Maybe you might not be able to see it, but it's $1 on it. It's $1 I paid for this
can't
book.
see the price tag, but definitely.
Yeah, it's $1. That's what I paid for. But, very, very very powerful book about kidnapping free black people. Now, you have to think about 12 Years a Slave with Solomon North. Now, he, based on his autobiography, he was in his 30s, middle-aged, well-accomplished man living in upstate New York who got lured by a business prospect of two white kidnappers. Now, he's a grown man, sold into slavery for 12 years. So when you hear these stories, family, that we all didn't come from the continent of Africa and enslaved, this is factual. The kidnapping clubs made it so. Everybody didn't come across the shores who were enslaved. Some were already here and captured. So, I just want you all to have a clear understanding of the things that you're looking at when you see them, and look at the clear picture, the whole entire picture. You can't study enslavement without studying the presidents during enslavement. You can't study the presidents without studying the laws of those particular times. You can't study the laws without looking at individual acts that were put against us. You can't look at these individual acts and not understand why it was done. So again, it's not one place, it's not one event, it's not one person, it's the totality of the time period. And that's how I want you to study from here on out. Don't do it any other way, because you will lie to yourself, you will fool yourself, and you will come up short in your research. And that's why Black people get perturbed when they cannot listen to feel-good history. Mm-hmm. Dr. Amos Wilson said that's very, very dangerous. Feel-good history. Everything wasn't good. That belief system is what keeps us in the condition of looking at people like a Maxine Waters and Al Sharpton, Tamika Mallory. These apparatus continue today. Our thought process, continues today. When you hear these names, LaQuisha, Aquanetta, and all this kind of stuff, for us, it's laughter. But there was a reason, there's a history why we named our children that way. Because a lot of them were kidnapped or sold off, and we can identify them. Because if you call Aquanetta in a crowd of Marias, Aquanetta's gonna turn around. You know what I mean? So learn these stories. Don't look at history in a vacuum. Look at the totality of it, and you will get a clearer understanding. And I'm telling you, your thought process and how you move forward will be so much better. That's why I could never, in all of my Black life, vote for a Democrat or a Republican, because I know the goddamn history. I have to be a fool, and that's disrespectful to my ancestors. Because I'm going to live here. I might not wake up tomorrow. I hope I do, but I can see my ancestors. You
better wake up. You better wake up tomorrow.
You better have answers for these ancestors. They don't play. So, Sister Marcia, your thoughts on the totality of understanding history, because you can't look at history in vacuum.
Absolutely. And once I started studying a lot of things, I started understanding that if I only look at this piece, I don't understand this piece. And one of the pieces is, the sale of the Louisiana Territory and how this works in America's favor and what that means for, my ancestors from Haiti, right? And how their attachment to America is very prolific. And unfortunately, we spoke last week about how some people didn't know about certain revolutionaries like Garvey and stuff like that. But when your revolutionary's achievement is not prophesized or talked about in their own home country, they negate that story. They find that person's victory because we are all, like Brother Tad said, victorious. They negate that victory and feel as if I'm a victim because this brother or this sister did X, Y, and Z in my favor. And because you cannot accept the favor that was bestowed upon you, you continue to victimize yourselves. And we are all here on this platform as victors and accepting the favors that our ancestors have brought upon for us and are challenging people to look to the victories that your own personal ancestors have brought upon for your own family. Because again, like we've all said, like Brother Tad echoed earlier, it starts with your own home. If you can't look at your home and even through the depravity, see the victories, you are shallow, you are lost. And the whole idea that we continue to look for our quote unquote white savior or get educated and move in and out of white spaces versus standing strong in our hoods and turning our hoods into, Black Wall Streets is a failure to our people as a total. So I just want us to use this as, again, we have so many tools that we could use for our victory. I want us to start implementing these tools because, again, Brother Tad, I'm going to echo you, Brother Tad.
That's all right, sis.
Brother Tad says, we have to be, Neely Fuller says at the end, be action forward. We can talk, we can intellectually masturbate from Stokely Carmichael. That was his Kwame Ture, sorry. That was his most famous quote that I like, because we sit here and just talk and talk and talk. But now it's time for us to leave the big D Democrats, create democratic environments without the Democratic Party and Republican Party, because they are not in our favor. And that's what I have for you right now.
Love it, sis. Love it. But as Tad said, in spite of, we have done some great things that a lot of you around the globe take for granted. When I talk about our inventions and our inventors making life a little bit easier for the world, came from these shores. Period. Let's get into it. Whether it's the air conditioner, the almanac, automatic cutoff switch, auto fishing device, baby carriage, biscuit cutter. In fact, speaking of biscuit cutter, y'all know about Pillsbury.
No,
right?
well, we know the company, but what's the history?
Well, there was a Black woman
Figures.
who produced it prior, Sister Lucille. We'll bring her up in a minute. But this is what I'm saying. When you look at the civil rights movement, for example, the Montgomery bus boycotts in particular, how was it funded? How was it funded? From a Black woman making food and selling it, period. So I'm going to try to bring her up in a minute as well. We got to look at these things. There's a reason why in school they give you one person, one time, one event, so that you don't continue patterns. There were patterns in revolution. Some people waged war and was, had the machetes going. Other people had to lure the cracker out so that he can get got. We have to learn to work in unison. I know what my role is. I know what my job is. I know what I can do. And I damn sure know what I can't do. That's why it's 3 other people on this platform besides me. I'm clear that. I don't cross lines. I let my brothers and sisters do what they do. I can't get up with Brother Anunnaki. I just let him do his thing. That's not my forte. It's his. I let him do his thing. Period. When the OG wisdom is on deck, I let him do his thing. That ain't me. That's his thing. Sister Marcy gets the hand. That's her thing. There's a reason why we have a balance here. It has to be balance and revolution as well. But until we understand how history works, how it manifests, how we are to understand it, we're going to keep making the same goddamn mistakes. That's why Black organizations fail. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. Even the ones that you think are successful today. With the stroke of a pen, they can be dismantled. Period. You have no power, no matter what it is you think you're doing out here. So I want us to remember that in spite of, we continue to push forward. In spite of. But I want you to hear some stories from people who was on these plantations. Right? Hold on, family. Here we go. Because you got to hear for yourself. I don't want anybody to tell you some tomfoolery.
When I was a little girl in slave days, I always had something to do every day. Every day. I didn't have time to play very much at all. Because I myself was in the house for most of the time. In days like this, while we were outdoors, pulling up weeds or picking up feathers where the chickens would all make them through the yard, or every day. And in cloudy days, while we were in the house, they had a big pan of sand, silver sand in an old slipper, scrubbing up the floor in the big dining room where they ate the meal. Well, then I was...
She talks about working in a house, right? This woman is 102 years old. This interview was took place in 1944 by a Black news outlet. But this interview, this lady looked more fit, well together in her stance and her understanding, her memory, than some of you who are in your 20s today. That's embarrassing.
Very.
Embarrassing, Dad.
It
like
is.
you said, they can't even breathe.
No.
Fresh food versus processed food.
Fresh food and the physical labor, constantly moving. Constantly moving. Strength training, cardio, walking all the time. Because our folks, Sister Keisha, I think once they said you don't have to pick no kind no more, our folks just stop moving. And of course, I'm speaking generally because, of course, we built our own communities. But we really started buying into their food products. We started buying into their psychology, their ideas. You know, and we don't realize that's what's destroying us. You know,
we moved into
drugs.
whiteness. We moved into that idea of whiteness. I'll say one thing, and I know, you know, we're foundational here, right? But I'm also foundational to Haiti. But in Haiti, after the revolution, Dessalines required people to farm the land. You have to be farmers. We have to sustain ourselves. Everyone put down their farming tools and says, no, we won the revolution. We don't care. Import. And that is one of the pillars that killed the progress of the revolution. I digress.
Yeah, we definitely have to learn to feed ourselves. We forgot all the basics.
The book, the author is Dr. Richard Bell. Dr. Richard Bell, like ring your bell. That's his name. So that's it.
Yeah, you know, but that's why I encourage people, you know, try to change your diet, because even the health food here, it sucks. It sucks.
Facts.
GMO fruits and vegetables, you know, but we can create a paradigm shift. And that's the beauty of it. Sure enough, as we talk about history, I always say we are making history right now. Nobody's life is more valuable than ours. Nobody's experience is more valuable than ours. Because in 50 years, 100 years, they talk about New York and the crack epidemic, what has happened to Black folks. I think all of us on this panel was there. I think a lot of our folks in the audience was there. We saw when the bomb came. We saw what it did to our community. We saw the rebuilding of our community afterwards. But we also saw the lives that were lost, the lives that it impacted. You know, so we are making history ourselves, but we have to be critical in the analysis of what's happening right now and approach everything with the right frame of mind. Stop thinking of ourselves as victims, because that's the thing they sell us. Anytime you turn on the news, they're always going to sell you fear. They want to keep you paralyzed. They don't want you to take action. And the action ain't got to be bold and blatant. It ain't got to be like the Black Panthers did, patrolling with rifles in your community. It could be as simple as abstaining from things that don't serve you.
Facts.
The music,
it could be as
the
simple.
food, the behavior.
It could be as simple as planting 3 seeds of oregano and watching them blossom in your house, and you're like, nope, I got fresh oregano. It is very simple. If we're willing to decolonize our minds from everything we've ever been taught.
Facts. Here's a woman, because you know about Dr. King, Fred Shuttlesworth, you know about Malcolm, you know about all these people. But I told you it's very important that you understand who the worker bees were as well. Forget about how you were trained to study. Throw it out of the window. It's trash. It will not serve you at all. So let's find out about Miss Georgia Gilmore and the Montgomery bus boycott. Here we go.
This is Black Women in History, presented to you by Black Women on a Mission. I want you to meet Miss Georgia Gilmore. Miss Georgia was a cook by trade whose food funded the Montgomery bus boycotts. And let me give you a little context. 2 years before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus, Miss Georgia had an encounter of her own. She entered onto the front of the bus, paid her money, and then of course got into it with the bus driver. After a little back and forth, she agreed to exit the bus and re-enter through the back. But as she was making her way back there, the bus driver did a dash on her. She said, "You'll never get the chance to treat me like nothing again." Okay, and from that day forward, she vowed she was not riding the bus no more. When the bus boycotts popped off, she was ready to be at the meeting. And soon enough, she said, "You know what? I'm finna start bringing plates up here." And that's exactly what she did. She started selling plates at the boycotting meetings and in the barbershop. She enlisted other women in the community to do the same. You can't always get people to fill the collection plate, but they gonna fill their stomachs. And she knew that. So they invested a lot of this money back into the movement. From the community, for the community. They called their group the Club from Nowhere. Because when people asked, where's all this money coming for the boycott? They said, nowhere. And a boycott was extremely expensive. There was a network of cars taking people across town to do their work. That means more gas and repairs, all of which require money. But Miss Georgia and the Club from Nowhere were feeding the movement, both with food and funds. When Dr. King was arrested for conspiracy for his involvement in the movement, Miss Georgia testified on his behalf. Because of that, she lost her job. But Dr. King encouraged her to go into business for herself. He even brought 2 presidents who ate in her kitchen. So from that point on, she started a home-based restaurant and was extremely successful. Miss Georgia is the mother of the movement. She is a shining example of how much impact you can make when you do what you can with what you have. She was not making excuses. She was making pork chops. So it doesn't matter what you have in your hand. Use it for good and God will multiply it. So let's give Miss Georgia her flowers and learn from her example.
Again, you may not know about particular folks, but you will know today about Miss Georgia Gilmore. Never forget her name. Remember her name. So as we push forward, remember, everybody got a role to play. How are we going to get to, well, she made it happen, period.
And you know, Sister Keisha, these the Black women I remember growing up. Not the Megan Thee Stallions, not the Lottos, not the Cardi B's and Nicki Minaj's. Good old Black folks. Just did what they knew how to do. It ain't got to be complicated. Very simple. And look at them arms. You know, Black folks. You say you look at the arms, blood, she can fry some chicken.
That
you look like she can fry some chicken.
One person I do know Tad remembers is Dr. Sukiana.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, back to the kitchen with the good food.
Back to the chicken or kitchen?
All both of them. All both of them. BOFFUM, both of them.
Not both of them.
Both of them.
I can't with you people.
You can do all things through Christ. Amen.
Amen.
For this show, I say.
Our Black History celebration. Here we go.
You need to know Augustus Jackson, the man who turned ice cream into a universal delight. Born in 1808, Jackson started young, cooking for US presidents at just 9 years old. But his real magic began when he left the White House for Philadelphia. Here, he revolutionized ice cream by creating the eggless recipe we still use today. Before Jackson, ice cream was a luxury for the rich. His ingenious use of salt lowered the freezing point, making it easier to produce and more affordable. He sold his creations in metal tins to local black-owned parlors, democratizing dessert. Jackson's legacy isn't just in the flavors, but in the joy and accessibility of ice cream itself. His passion for bringing people together over a shared love for ice cream has made it more than a treat. So next time you enjoy a scoop, remember Augustus Jackson, the man who made every lick possible. Stay cool, history buffs.
Again, in spite of, we still about that life. So all y'all naysayers who like to talk greasy about us, we made life convenient for you, son. Period.
And
we
now
firm on our square on that one. Go ahead, Sister Marcia.
And now with the prices of eggs, we gotta reinvent things because everybody. I feel like this brother saw that you want ice cream with eggs in it, too expensive, and reinvented, decolonized the product. No more eggs. Now with the prices of eggs, show me eggless cakes. I don't know, eggless goodies.
You're gonna be vegan. You have a vegan cake, like a saucer.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm good on that.
Thank you.
I want eggs and milk in my cake.
But now we have to wonder, how did it taste before? And because now it's just spectacular now. Ice cream.
You know something that amazes me about ice cream? It's a little change of the topic, but it's still about ice cream. When I found out that vanilla was black, I could not get over that vanilla was black because, wow, I was like, nah, it can't be. And then, I kept seeing it on Facebook. And one day I just researched it. I looked for the actual plant, and it's black, like all our shirts today.
I'm laughing because you said when you looked on Facebook. I learned that a long time ago.
I did too, but it took me a while to actually okay, let me look at this for real. Yeah, like that,
I had in my family, so I saw vanilla beans. I didn't understand vanilla. I didn't understand, when you are so accustomed to certain things, you just don't understand what people are saying. You're just like, what are you saying? What are you saying? So it's always a different understanding, and it's always great to bring certain things forward. How they ended up using extract instead of the whole bean to make the ice cream, so that it's palatable for everyone, and all of those things. So it's really, really life is very interesting if you're willing to decolonize your mind and study.
The story goes is that when white people first discovered it, that it was so good they wouldn't allow black people to. It grows wild in Africa. They wouldn't allow black people to think that something so good could come from something black. And we know for the most part, all white foods, probably with the exception of garlic, are no good for you.
And there is black garlic. Let's get off the topic of food and get back to the story at hand.
We're going to keep it in Brooklyn. All right, Brooklyn, stand up. Light up the bridge. Here we go with our very own Brother Lonnie.
Introduces us to inventor Lanny Smoot. He has over 100 patents and a boundless sense of wonder.
There's no mistaking that signature sound and glow. An icon of science fiction.
This is my lab.
That Jedi lightsaber brought into the real world by Disney's research and development team in Glendale, California.
How long did it take to come up with this? It was a few tries.
Yeah.
A few early models. And the key is to have a uniform blade, very bright,
and full retraction into the hilt. And those were the challenges with something like this.
Lead inventor Lanny Smoot loves a challenge, dreaming up ideas at Disney Imagineering for the last 25 years.
Bridge the gap for me, if you will, between storytelling and invention.
Sometimes you'll have an invention that inspires a story, right? Sometimes I'll hear a good story and realize that a specific technology can make it real. So the two things support each other. My peers on the movie side of things can fake things with computer-generated effects in movies. I have to make them for real.
From live-action props to interactive theme park attractions, he uses science to create joy. But Smoot says his own story was improbable. Growing up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, with a wealth of ideas and encouragement, but very little means.
When I was quite young, probably 12 years old, I saw a unicycle rider. I said, I want one of those. My parents were poor. I made a unicycle by taking the front wheel off of a tricycle because it had the pedals, banging a pipe onto the top of it, putting a bicycle seat on top of that, and rode that around.
Let me guess, you weren't wearing a helmet either.
I wasn't wearing a helmet. And by the way, those tires are not pneumatic. They're not air-filled, so it was a bumpy ride. And I never wanted to ask my parents for a real unicycle, but one day I came home and it was a unicycle laying up against my bed because my dad said, I saw you clunking along on the street.
He credits his father for that initial spark.
As early as I can remember, he brought home a battery, a bell, a little light bulb. I was probably 5 years old. He gets the light bulb to light and the bell to ring, and that light lit my entire career.
A career that began at Bell Labs, where for 22 years he made strides in fiber optics and broadband systems. But his greatest pride is his most recent invention.
So what do we have here?
This is the hollow tile floor. It is the world's first omnidirectional, multi-person treadmill floor. It can have any number of people on it. So it's like having an infinite walking surface, but in a finite size.
I'm entering the ship's holodeck, where images of reality can be created by...
Inspired by another sci-fi technology.
I reasoned that it won't work unless you have a floor surface that can have everybody on that floor moving in any direction they want. They might be in VR, but how do you solve the floor problem? This is the solution.
So we're going to let you control our chair here.
Okay.
And I got quite the demo.
I'm just going to teach you the controls to our game here.
Okay.
I think he's been practicing. He's really good.
I could do this all day.
Not to mention a little Jedi training. It's all part of why Smoot now joins the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
This gallery of icons is actually a patented wall.
Rini Paiva is their vice president of selection and recognition.
Skylar Henry.
And remember that museum, I believe it's in Ohio, the National Black Inventors Museum. But, you know, Brownsville, stand up. People always talk about Brownsville. You know, people know Brownsville, Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? But now you know Lonnie Smoot. My brother Big Mar said his great grandfather is a Smoot from South Carolina. You could be related. You could be related. You know, our people migrated, you know, from the south to the north. You know that. So you could be related, brother.
Put your hat in the, how they say that? Put your hat in the pot, whatever. But send an email in today's language.
Sister Keisha, did you look in the chat real quick? And can we talk about Dr. Mark Deans for a second? Are you aware of him?
Hold on, Black. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
For the last time, I'm going to tell you, you can share your own screen, Black. You do know that. You
right where it says present, Black.
You have to be technology advanced, brother. This ain't going to work.
He said this is old. He said this is old school technology, like what a beeper is to the kids.
Because what happens is, if I pull it from there, because I have so many things queued up, it causes things to freeze. So if it freezes, I'm gonna kick your ass next week. All right? You don't listen. You one of them hard head. I know you got a lot of this.
You gonna have to do it online though.
Mr. Anunnaki, Mr. Spaceman, you should be the premier person to be able to navigate these interspaces.
I'm trying to navigate these shits. Come on now.
You talk about navigate interspace, and he's from outer space, right, brother Anunnaki?
Okay, she got it. Y'all stop.
All right. So this is Mark Dean. I'm aware of him, but Brother Black, since you asked me to pull him up, you explain who Mark Dean is.
I wrote about him in my first book. He also, what reminded me of him, or what made me think about him outright, was he also worked for Bell Labs. And when I wrote my book about 15 years, my first book 15 years ago, and when I was doing the research at that time, he held the most patents, very instrumental in creating, in the creation of personal computers and things like that. So I believe he's retired now, and he probably still inventing stuff and stuff like that, but he holds a lot of patents in computer software and things of that nature.
Got it. And they still stealing patents to this very day from Black people. And we'll talk more about that next week, how they still stealing these patents. But thank you for that piece, Brother Black. But next week, you on your own, okay? All right. Let us
So that ass whipping is rescinded, right?
I'll think about it. Depends on my mood. You know, sometimes I go back and forth. You know how I do.
Just pass it off to Tad. He good with that.
That, like, leave me out of stuff. But again, I want to not show this. Hold on. This. Let's get some information to our people in New Jersey. Shout out to Jersey, across the water.
Shout out to New Jerusalem.
Yes, indeed. Let's get some history on New Jersey, and we'll come right back.
New Jersey was the last northern state to even attempt to abolish slavery, and was probably the northern state with the strongest sympathies towards the South. Because it was the southernmost northern state, it had a lucrative trade policy with the southern states.
New Jersey's known as the Garden State. We're known for our blueberries. We're known for our corn. We're known for our peaches. But we're not known for the slaves that were here tilling the soil. We're not known for the whole history of slavery connected to New Jersey and how slavery was the underpinning of much of the wealth of New Jersey, particularly in this region.
When you start looking at everything that the African Americans did here in New Jersey, you can start all the way down to the shore and bring it all the way up to the tip of New Jersey.
Shout out to Jersey. We showing love to everybody. We showing love to everybody tonight. Everybody getting love tonight because our history is so rich. Shout out to Sister Veronica. Happy Bob Marley Day. It is Bob Marley Day.
Yeah.
One of my favorite spots in the grill had an event today. And it was live, so I was watching it. But definitely happy Bob Marley Day. So, again, family, continue to study our history. Continue to understand who we are, what we all come from. You know, history should not be studied in a vacuum. You know, it has many tentacles, you know. So continue to research and study in that way. One of the things that I also wanted to talk about was Texas. There is a book, it's called The Black History of Texas Uncensored. And you're going to hear something from the author, and then we'll come right back and we'll discuss, family. Hold on.
Hear about the Black woman who made Dallas, Texas history for being the first Black woman to be hanged for murdering her boss. I'm Tierica, the author of Dallas, Texas Black History Uncensored. And during my research, I learned about a woman by the name of Jane Elkins who made Black history twice in Dallas. The first time Jane made history was in 1846. While still an enslaved woman, she was sold from one owner to the next for $400. That transaction, the sale of an enslaved Black woman, was the first recorded bill of sale in all of Dallas County history. But Jane didn't just disappear. Not even a decade later, she made headlines again after she was leased out by her former owners to a man named Andrew Wisdom. He employed her to work for him because he was a single father of 4 and he needed help around his farm. While working for him, she endured brutal conditions, abuse, neglect, and even rape. One evening, Andrew Wisdom was sick and he was still threatening to abuse her. He even went outside to grab switches and promising her that he was going to beat her behind the next night. The next evening, Jane stood quietly outside of Wisdom's bedroom. She listened to him snore and sleep, and then she crept up to his bedside, pulled out an axe, and then smacked it into his head, killing him on the spot. Jane ran away, but she was captured, and then she immediately confessed to the crime. Jane was in prison, and then on May 27th, 1853, Jane became the very first woman to be legally executed in Texas. Jane was hanged in front of the Dallas County Courthouse, and she never shed a tear. I'm Tierica with the T. Follow for more Black history.
We've been about that life.
I love it. I love it. The integrity. Ain't no more of this. I took about enough and I'm gonna give it right back. Integrity. Our ancestors had a level of personal and community integrity that we need to rebuild.
Sorry.
He was tired of being tired.
Oh, hold on one second, family. There is something that I want to share with you all, if I can get it queued up here. Because, sometimes we got to give ourselves our own flowers around here. You know what I mean? Because we may not be here tomorrow. Black said we better show up, but, I don't got control over that. I wish I did, but I don't.
I ain't going nowhere.
I was trying to cue this thing up, but I guess I'm going to have to play it in regular form. But just some information that you may or may not know about Brother Tad and myself and some of the people that we have come across in our travels in this movement. So, next month will be the month that we kicked it off with Straight Black Talk, Brother Tad. So I'm going to play this. I'm sorry, family, that I can't expand it. I don't know. It's acting crazy today, but we'll play. Here we go. Oh, I might get it.
Brooklyn Bridge, our sacred ground. Voices rise, no fear, no bound. Black pride in our souls profound. Echoes of the past resound. In the night, we gather strong. Talk of right and battle wrong. History's drum beats like a song. In unity, we all belong. Thorough Black Talk, here we stay. Every Thursday, pave the way. Celebrate the ones who lay. Foundation strong night today. Brother Tad and Sister K. Voices clear, bright as day. Harsh as wisdom, blacksmiths say. Together we won't fade away. Political, social, deep, we dive. On this bridge, our truth's alive. For the future we strive. In Brooklyn's heart we thrive. Thorough Black Talk, here we stay. Every Thursday, pave the way. Celebrate the ones who lay. Foundation strong night today. Thorough Black Talk, here we stay. Every Thursday, pave our way. Celebrate the ones who lay.
So,
That's
just
dope.
look back of
That was dope.
That was
You,
dope.
you know what was so funny?
That was beautiful, Sister Keisha. Beautiful.
I'm looking at many of those photos and I'm like, but I was in this space. I was there. But true to my form, I don't really like taking photos. So, but you got me here, Sister Keisha.
That was when you was little Marmar.
Yeah, right.
What did he say?
I'm laughing at Sister Farnessa. I'm saying I'm standing there hugged up with Dr. Sukiana.
You what?
I said that was when you was little Marmar. That's what I said. Brother Tad said something else.
I don't know.
I was hoping somebody would point that out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I looked at it like, damn, that's when he was all right.
Sister Keisha, did I trigger that thought? Because I told him he was going to remember him some kind of way. See, Sister Keisha, get at him, Tad.
Picture with you and with what's his name? Garvey's son.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the one that took that picture for you. But
might
yeah,
have.
I'm in these spaces, but I'm always like, no, don't take no. You're like, wait a minute.
That's the night I asked him about white women.
And he didn't tell you about his wife.
Yo, once he said, well, people love who they want to love, and want. That's all I heard.
You knew it was done after that. You knew it was done after that.
But you know what's beautiful, Sister Keisha? And I mean, if you can remember to do this, I have a suggestion. We just put the names of some of the people, because one of the pictures is when you were speaking and for Dr. Africanus for the African Union in Queens. And I don't think people know, because some people are just coming into the knowledge, right, sis? And I be telling people we've been doing this for so long, and we can put the names like who they were, because it was Dr. Sukiana, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor Browder, Dr. Walima Baruti. I think I seen Marimba Ani in one of the photos. You and Mama Marimba. Who else? Of course, Brother Mike Graves.
What's
Of course,
her
shout
name?
out to him.
Black men, black women. What's her name?
I mean, it was so many dope people. Renoko Rashidi.
Yeah.
Who else? Our brother Mbebe Shangi. Our brother Black Dot. What's the mulatto sister name? Professor Griff
Sister Pam, Mama Pam.
Yes.
Go back a few ones. Oh, look at
Brother Quasi.
Yes. Oh,
that's a Black Panther 1 and 2.
That's before he had DTLR book.
Yep.
Yeah.
He just started it.
History Hitman.
Yep.
The Fire God.
Yeah.
Oh man, we've been around the world.
Look, that's when we rented the movie theater to see Black Panther 1 and 2.
I did that. That was my work. Let me stop.
Yeah, I'm about to say, hold on now.
No, truly, go ask the people that was doing it. Who did the back legging? Who did the leg work to get the theater?
Oh, okay.
Look at that picture of me and Baba Ashwa Kwesi. It's
yes.
Hey, look at the book behind us.
Yes.
The book behind us. Y'all better stop playing.
Go back to the sister. What's her name?
I like this. This was with
Alamani
and Dr. Arthur Lewis.
Yes.
Symposium on the life and legacy of Ali McLean.
I used to be in his writing club.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember the code of conduct, Tad? This was part 2.
Yeah,
nice.
Part 2.
Nice.
Yeah, we've been on this type of time.
Good times.
This was 2016, Tad, January.
That's going on 10 years.
10 years.
And we already had a few years in prior to this.
Facts.
Brother Quasi, Black Dot.
Salute.
Was
their last podcast last week.
Brother Omar in the back.
Y'all do know who his father is, right? Y'all know who his pops is, right?
No.
It's a reggae singer.
Jimmy Cliff.
Jimmy Cliff.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, that used to be Sucker Polite right here, man.
Yep.
And I felt bad for him because he was the stand-up
really,
too.
Omar?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brother Red Pill.
Facts.
Yes, that's my brother. That's my brother.
So that
We
Nicholas-
always used to, there was a period of time we would always run into each other at the museum. Like any museum, randomly, he'd be like, I'm like, what are you doing here?
Dr. J.
How is Dr. J lately? Because I heard he was ill for a moment. Is he okay now?
He you know,
Brother
his
Ray.
health, you know, he's 90 something, so his health is healthy. We're happy that he's still here. Oh, good brothers, good brothers, good
Yeah,
brothers.
Sister Keisha, once again.
Oh,
And do y'all know who this woman is right here?
Yes.
For
Who
our
is that?
audience, wait, let me go back. Hold on. For our audience, do you know who this woman is right here in the white? This is Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Leonard's wife.
This is the do you want me to say or are you gonna say?
Who's that lady right there? That's Miss Colea Clark, who was the personal secretary of Medgar Evers.
Absolutely. She was so great.
She also ran for senator here in New York City.
She was so great. She really had good conversation with the people. Like if you ever wanted to sit down and just take her out to lunch, yo, you had immense conversations. She was great. I loved her.
Now, I know Sister Joy's brother Monty is watching, but this is a photo we took when we went down to stop the lynchings in Delaware.
Nice.
Wow.
Right here is a civil rights icon in the state of Delaware. So she invited us into her home and, you know, we had some conversations. This is when we came out to Philly in support of Mumia and Move. Shout out to Pam Africa. You see Sister Joyce right here. But a couple of people in these pictures made their transition.
A lot.
You know, Brother Mwebe, when I brought him out to him, the real Rick Ross.
The real one.
I chopped it up with in Philly. Had a great conversation. And, you know,
Miss National Black Theater. This is the sister I'm talking about. I can't remember.
Shahrazad Ali.
Shahrazad Ali, yeah. The one that wrote How to Understand a Black Woman.
Yeah, black men. That's all I kept saying was black man. She's another great sister. I can never remember her name.
And over at that table is Dr. Africana, with Sister Keisha speaking right there.
Yes.
That's Dr. Africana in the middle in the purple. She was the spokesperson for the African Union.
Yes.
Over on the continent.
Yes.
Hey, Sister Keisha, I got a real quick question. Did Neely Fuller ever speak at UAM? Because if he did, I don't remember it or ever heard of that happening.
Not during my time, no.
Yeah, me either.
Irritated Genie, brother Ariel and Sister Tony.
Oh
man. Look at Mama and Zinga.
And Mama and Zinga, Mama Eileen. Oh man.
I'm sitting next to Mama Eileen, Sister Javita in the middle, and Mama and Zinga on the end who transitioned. We actually buried her ashes in Ghana.
Rest her.
And I think that's when I broke down. Me and Brother Ashe at the African Street Festival.
Yep.
Our brother Sean Bay, Blue Pill, Red Pill.
Was that the season where what's his name and Jeffries and all of y'all were about to go in on him? What's his name?
Mark Lamont Hill?
Yeah. Is that?
No. That could have no, that was the year or two before that.
Okay.
Rather, with Mark Lamont Hill was a year or two before that picture of me and Ashe.
Okay.
Me at Harriet Tubman's gravesite.
Yep.
That's in Auburn, New York, where Harriet Tubman is buried. Yep. And that's me and Dr. Garvey, Dr. Julius Garvey. Yeah, Dr. Julius Garvey, when I asked for those who don't know, I asked him, how does he feel about people waving the red, black, and green and still participate in interracial relationships?
My brother, love is love.
Yeah.
You can't deny yourself love.
And I heard
would he tell us he had a white? You know what? I was also disappointed in that particular event was that I feel like Restoration gave us the tiniest room.
Right.
And we were closeted on top of each other.
Yes.
and it felt so uncomfortable just being in that space. Like I totally get that sometimes our people don't show up, but at the same time, don't pile us up on top of each other inside of a closet. That's not
Right.
fair.
Especially when you got bigger rooms available because nobody's
Absolutely.
using them.
Absolutely.
But you know what, Sister Marcia? Into the panel, this is what I mean when I say our lives have value. We're making Black history because some of these people have transitioned. Some of these people went from elders to ancestors, you know, and we've been fortunate enough to walk with them and pick up the mantle and keep moving forward. But we don't have to make it as hard. See, again, we got to get the language right because we're so addicted to this word struggle. We act like everything has to be hard. If it ain't hard, it ain't right.
Yeah.
But when you take time for preparation, it becomes smoother and you know what you're doing and you know what to do. And it don't seem like work anymore. You just enjoy it. You enjoy your people.
And I think, Brother Tad, I think that's one of the reasons why they put us in a closet to have this conversation, because they wanted us to feel like we were struggling. You're struggling to hear the brother of the words of Garvey's son versus giving us space and allowing our ancestors space. Because for me, I feel like when you have lots of space, even if it's well attended or not well attended, you allow room for your ancestors to come into the space, come into the room, and be present. But when you suffocate everyone into a closet, no one can really absorb the knowledge, even if his knowledge isn't as thoughtful as his father's, right? Even if his is more esoteric and more whimsical than what we need, we still should allow for space for our ancestors. And I don't think in the past we've done that. And I hope moving forward we can make room.
Quick aside, y'all. Does anybody have any background information as to why Irv Gotti suffered a stroke at 54? Could it have been the clot shot? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, bad health.
Yeah, and I was going to say that
before. Diabetes, hypertension. These are things that he talked about before. Just never
he was
did
on
it.
that show. He was on that show. What was it? Yeah, and he talked about how poor his health was. He was very honest, and he was honest to the fact that I'm not trying to change my life either.
Right.
You know, and that's a failure.
And see, this is something I want to say too, because again, we lived history. We're the hip hop generation right here. You know what I'm saying? We seen a lot of these people adopt a hard lifestyle of heavy drinking, heavy smoking, heavy partying, and they made that part of their value system. That they always got to turn up. They always got to be outside. And you know, when you drunk coming from the club nights, only thing that's open is the chicken spot. So you go into the chicken spot or the burger spot, and you're already intoxicated, not eating unhealthy foods, and you're not exercising, you're not detoxing. You're on repeat with this lifestyle. Like Sister Marcia said, he made no qualms about it. He's not trying to change that. You know, and this is what I'm talking about part of the resistance is we could just stop. Instead of going to the chicken spot, just take your ass home. Your wife or mama probably got some real food in the fridge.
Eat a salad. Eat something.
I don't know if a salad tastes good on some.
That's not part of the lifestyle, sis. Come on now. Get out of here with that.
Let me
You know better.
I don't know if it tastes good on liquor, but
let's be easy because I am a drinker. I do like to
No, we're not talking about drinking. We're talking about the excess of it all. You know, like
brother.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is it's okay. A really good salad, if you know how to make a salad, or if you have people that could prepare a really good salad for you,
Sister Keisha, mute her mic.
Did you hear Tad say when you leaving the club at 5 in the morning, what's open?
Trying to make no goddamn salad.
I out of the club and had a salad at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Somebody come home at 4 in the morning that's worth all that money to cut up no damn salad and eat it at 4 or 5 in the morning. Get out of here. Come on now.
In all honesty, I've already had it prepared because I knew what I was coming up against. So
you special, sis. That's all.
I was saving that sound for Brother Black, but Sister Marcia, you beat him to the punch.
I didn't hear it. Do it again. I don't think your sound is coming up, sir.
Oh,
I don't think that's the sound he was using for me.
yeah, only for you.
It
I
was.
reserved it for black. That button says black.
Well, we don't got a Waffle House around here. You know what? And, you
We
know, in
got chicken
all
spots, and
honesty,
nobody want no salad
no.
at 4 in the
What-
morning when they drunk.
What
You want
chicken
some
spot?
chicken.
You know what?
You want a burger. You want some fish or
Listen, I
pizza.
could say, listen, in all honesty, in my 20s, yeah, definitely I was finding spots open driving home. But in my 30s and 40s, I don't, it's either consciously, I'm like looking past these spots, like, nah, I got food at home. So it may be a conscious thought of mine that I have food at home and I'm not wasting my dollars
Well,
outside.
that'll work.
You know, so
But
that
I don't know
may
who
be
wants
it.
a salad in the middle of
But
the
me,
night.
I want my drunken salad.
Your
Oh, my drunken
salad.
salad tastes
You go right
good.
on
You
ahead.
probably got some pork chops on top of it.
No,
Like,
sir. No, sir.
like
Just
2 pieces of
broccoli,
lettuce, a quarter of a
broccoli,
tomato,
broccoli,
2 fried
parsley,
pork chops.
carrots, tomatoes from my garden.
Chicken sandwich with mayo.
Summertime. Don't
She in the
let it
backyard plucking fruits and vegetables.
say
4
that
o'clock
again,
in the morning.
brother.
Them
Say
white folks gonna
that
call the
again.
police on you.
In the winter.
I got my flashlight.
You're crawling around out here.
My flashlight talking about you raccoons better get out of here because I'm about to get my food.
Oh God, I cannot.
This was
No,
good.
in all
This was good.
seriousness,
I
though,
love,
you
I
know,
love to laugh. Thank you,
well,
brother.
54 is young, you know, and that's why I encourage our folks, you know, we do have to adopt a new lifestyle. Like you said, Sister Marcia, back in the 20s, yeah, our body could recover and recoup, but once you hit 35, 40, your body it just don't bounce back like it used to, you know, and we really got to promote a healthier lifestyle to our people. You know, us right here, we could joke about it because we know what time it is and we know how to move accordingly. But to those who may be watching this show on the playback or, you know, never even seen the show before, we serious about taking care of yourself. That we're serious about. We joke about it because we seen what it did to Irv. And not just Irv, because once a person transition, that's it. And rest in peace to him, you know, but his children.
Yes.
You leave a family behind. You got people who really love you and need you and count on you, you know. And granted, we all ain't going to live forever, but try to stay around for as long as we can. We just saw a video of a former enslaved woman who lived to be 102 and still was sharp with her wit. So we don't even know how old she was when she transitioned. You know what I mean? But eating whole foods and getting a lot of human, you know, just moving,
And
walking,
my grandmother,
exercising. Yeah. All
my
that is valuable.
My grandmother lived to 115 years old.
See, that's my goal. I'm shooting for a
years
buck and change.
You know, she farmed corn, she farmed coffee, and she, you know, built her own little coffee plantation. You know, we inherit this, but it's the whole idea that she wasn't just, oh, you know, da 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 da. She went out there and worked. Even, you know, I can remember the last time I went to IT with her, it was the tsunami. And we were up in the mountains and I wanted to go down to the beach. And the family was like, nah, the water looks bad. Look at it. So we didn't go. But my grandmother, oh, come, Anale, let's go. She had me farming coffee. Like, look at this. This is how you have to do this. This is how you have to do that. 90. And I'm like, at some point, I must be honest that I wasn't respecting some of the things, but I do remember it. And I do
absorbed it.
Yeah, I do recall it. And I recall the glow in her eyes as she was showing me things, whether I liked it or not. And I can say this for all of the elders in my family. I may not have liked a lot of things that they were showing me, but at the end of the day, I absolutely enjoyed the quality times of teaching me about vanilla. This is vanilla. If you have to open it, you have to grage it, you have to peel it, you have to, you know, you have to do all. These are the things that they put in me. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I can have a big salad. After a drunken
Hey, Tad, she went right back to that salad, man.
So you feel vanilla.
I can't stop my salad.
We gonna ban her. She banned from the salad world. You out.
Oh man.
Family, it's been great. We've come to the end of our program. Definitely next week we're going to continue our research into Black history, giving you some more information that you may or may not know, but we'll look at in a different light. Please remember to check out the OG Wisdom every 2 p.m. on Sunday, YouTube with Brother Tad and Brother C. Gutter. Please follow Sister Marcia, Africans on the Rise, on Instagram, and of course, on Facebook. You can follow our brother Elias Flavius on Facebook, melanin.institute.blogspot.com. Follow for more information. We out, y'all. We'll see y'all next week right here on the Brooklyn Bridge. Tell somebody it goes down. Good night.
On the Brooklyn Bridge tonight, voices strong, knowledge tight. Thorough black talk in the air, changing minds, changing flair. From Brother Tad to Sister K, warriors got things to say. Sister Marcy brings the heat, Brother Blacksmith keeps the beat. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Thursday nights the world will see Black Power Media on a spree. Facebook, YouTube all aligned, breaking free from every bind. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves, they fly underneath the open sky. Every word's a call to fight. Tune in, feel the ancestral light. Social talk and politics, every voice breaks through the matrix. Commentary raw and true, for the many, not the few. Revolutionary waves, they